Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrek. Yes, indeed, we're going to start this week out with a lot of the main topic, which is that Epstein interview, along with a lot of other interesting clips. But before we do any of that, make sure to run those likes up, man. Smash that button, hit the hype button for me. And if you're not a part of the iTrek fam, man, stay up to date with the latest and greatest and smash that subscribe button. Now let's just jump straight into it.
Schrodinger wrote a very famous book about what is life. He was trying to figure out a way, can he describe the difference formulaically between things that are alive and things that are dead? The answer is no. The things that are alive in my world are miracles, not magic. Magic has a bad connotation, trying to hide things.
You don't believe in the spirit or the soul? That's what animates people, is your spirit or your soul. That's
No.
have you ever seen someone die? When they die, their spirit leaves.
Their soul leaves, no question. So
There's no question to you about
no
that.
question.
There's no question to you that there is some animating life force within us that leaves when you're dead.
Yes, in fact, I refer to the soul. This obviously is certain. The questions in the past, even
Because
during
people would normally think you were soulless. So
Thank you.
But have you talk about you actually believe in it and have done some thinking about it is pretty shocking in its own right, isn't it?
Well, again, mathematics. Leibniz thought.
So Newton was at Cambridge, and he was the head of the math department, right? He's a professor, essentially.
Yes.
But Leibniz, was Leibniz a German professor?
Yes, but what Leibniz said is the soul is so strange because God took chemicals, which is simply the material, like tables, and he somehow made this material able to have a thought. How strange is that? Not only does it have a soul, but some way it was put together that this material substance is able to think. So when you say to me, it's obvious to everyone that there's such a thing as a soul.
It's so interesting to see him talk about souls, and it almost appears as if he doesn't care about his own, based on his actions. Like, it's very strange.
Experiment gave a homeless man $100,000 to see if it would change his life for better or make it worse. Ted was a lucky recipient. He had been homeless for decades and lived under a bridge, but he was drug-free and psychologically sound. He just seemed like a man who had been dealt a bad hand in life. They gave him the money, no strings attached. The only requirement was that a film crew could document everything. They gave him access to a financial planner, which Ted could use if he wanted. The first thing Ted did was rent a motel room, but he found the bed uncomfortable and slept on the floor. He eventually found an apartment, and word of his luck spread fast. Friends in the homeless community asked for help, and he helped. Women started flocking to him, and he got a girlfriend who he bought a car for. Ted was convinced the $100,000 was enough to last him a lifetime, but eventually he became paranoid about people using him. He even convinced himself his financial planner was just after his money, so he cut ties with him. Within 6 months, Ted had spent all of his money. His girlfriend broke up with him, all the friends he helped abandoned him, and he was back on the streets recycling for $20 a day.
Hey, Ted completely fumbled the bag. And that is the circle of life, man. Most people will do that. But guess what? If they want to run that experiment back and throw me $100K, I'll definitely show them exactly how it should be done. If you think you know what to do with it, definitely let me know in the comments what you would do.
People who focus on what they want don't typically get what they want. And people who focus on what they have to offer typically get what they want. The people that are focused on like, can I get a pay rise? Can I get a pay rise? Don't typically get the pay rise. But the people that focus on what they have to offer, they're the ones that you promote and you give the pay rise to because they're focusing on the most important thing. So really, if you want to find a sustainable way to get what you want in life, it's to do that work on what you can offer other people.
And I definitely have to agree, man. Hey, you build yourself up, make yourself extremely valuable, and that opportunity will come. Or you end up like old Ted here and somebody will give you $100,000 and you mess it up.
February 1st, any passenger who's coming through the checkpoint, they don't have a real ID or another acceptable form of ID such as a passport, they'll have the option to pay a $45 fee to access TSA's new alternative identity verification system, which is called Confirm ID. You want to go online to tsa.gov, it'll link you to pay.gov. You can make a $45 payment and that will generate a receipt. And then you'll have a receipt either in your email, you can print it out or have a screenshot of it. But we want you to show that receipt when you get to the checkpoint. That tells the officer that you paid, and then you can have your identity verified and go through screening.
So I guess the only real way around it is to bring your passport every time you go to the airport.
The snow under the microscope again. I've got this this? A little bit like this. Right. Gosh, immediately. What is this? What is that?
Basically, you got to throw your clothes in the washer every time you come back from the snow.
Nicki Minaj is being called a sellout after saying she's Donald Trump's #1 fan and getting this. So Nicki attended the Trump Account Summit where she was getting real close with Trump. And what makes this even crazier, just a few weeks ago, a petition to deport Nicki Minaj was going viral with over 70,000 signatures. But then in a wild turn of events, Nicki showed off her new Trump Gold Card, which can reportedly speed up the process for US residency and citizenship. The card typically requires making a $1 million donation, but after praising Trump so hard,
I am probably the president's #1 fan.
he apparently gave it to her for free. Considering her old tweet on how she came into the country, some people are disappointed with Nicki saying she sold her soul, while others are saying you gotta do what you gotta do.
Now, I've been seeing a lot of conflicting reports, but at the end of the day, you can't blame her. You can't really, you can't knock the hustle.
Conversations that they are having with each other is very different than the conversation we're having with us. Because to us, they go, hey, no more shitty jobs. Do you like to paint? You go paint. You're going to be so happy. We're going to give you money and maybe chocolates. Yeah. And to each other, they're saying AI represents for corporate leaders productivity without, and this is a quote, the tax of human labor.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
He called human labor a tax.
Yeah. Well, and these companies, if you're there sitting and you can hire either an AI to do the work or pay these really expensive humans to do the work, I just want people to know, we know exactly where this is going to go. These companies, all of them have an incentive to cut costs, which means they're going to let go of human employees. Sure. And they're going to hire AIs. And that's going to mean all the wealth. Who are you going to pay? You're not paying the individual people anymore. You're paying 5 companies. That's right. And so this country of geniuses in a data center suddenly aggregates all of the wealth of the economy. And now people always say, but humans find something else to do. We always, we had the elevator man, now we have the automated elevator, we had the bank teller.
That's right. But that was one industry.
That was technology that automated one job. Right. The difference with AI is it can automate literally all kinds of human labor. When Elon Musk says that Optimus
I'm not familiar with that name. Tell me more.
When Elon Musk says that Optimus Prime, that one robot, is going to be a $25 trillion market opportunity, what he's saying is we will own the world economy. And that's what the goal of all these AI companies is. It's not just benefiting society, it's that they're actually caught in this arms race to get to this prize of own the economy, build a god, and make trillions of dollars.
All jobs are gone.
All jobs are gone. So
yeah. Thank you for solving that.
Employment. People are worried. All the blue collar labor is being done by robots. All data centers are being built by robots.
The white collar labor will be the first to go, because until you can move atoms, the thing that can be replaced first is anything that involves just digital. Like if it's digital, like if it involves tapping keys on a keyboard and moving a mouse, the computer can do that. The AI can do that.
When is all white collar work gone? By when?
Well, there's a lot of inertia. So even with AI at its current state, I'd say you're pretty close to being able to replace half of all jobs. But there's a lot of inertia. People just keep doing the same thing for quite some time, and there actually has to be a company that makes more use of AI that competes with a company that makes less use of AI, creating a forcing function for increased use of AI.
Right.
My best guess for how this will manifest is that prices will drop.
Yeah.
Prices in dollar terms are the ratio between the output of goods and services and the money supply.
Sure.
And this is a prediction I think some others have made, but I think governments will actually be pushing to increase money supply
faster.
Yes. This is going to be a bumpy ride, and it's not like I know the answers here. But I have decided to look on the bright side, and I'd like to thank you guys for being an inspiration in this regard.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Slowly but surely, 95% of things that AI can do, they'll be doing it. And it's pretty clear.
Major breaking news in the case of David and Celeste. An arrest has officially been made in this case, and it was David's best friend, Neo. I mean, this is crazy. Just last night, we got the news that David's best friend, Neo Langston, was booked into a Montana jail on a warrant. And a representative from that jail said that he was arrested because there was an out-of-jurisdiction warrant from Los Angeles for failure to appear as a witness, and he's currently being held without bond. As we know, it was previously stated that someone with potentially vital information was refusing to show up and testify in front of the grand jury, and that an arrest was coming soon. And we now know exactly who that is, but the question is, why is he so afraid to talk, and what involvement, if any, did he have in all of this? Well, if you guys remember, the private investigator for this case said that he very clearly saw the person that was last seen driving David's Tesla with Celeste inside, and then soon after posted this asking, was it Neo? On top of that, if you remember, authorities said that they were looking into a trip that was taken by David to a remote area in Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night. They said they believe Celeste was in the car at that time, and that there was a second person who may have been in the car when the body was there. Could that have been Neo? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this. Rest in peace to Celeste, and as anything comes out, I'll keep you guys updated.
All I do know is when they find out who actually did it and who all was behind it, I hope they get thrown under the jail. It's still an extremely sad situation.
AI is coming to the construction industry. At CES 2026, Bobcat just announced the Bobcat Job Site Companion, a first-of-its-kind AI-enabled feature for compact construction equipment. The system is meant to enable not just display but also voice interactions. According to Bobcat, it can automate more than 50 functions for the user, giving them more freedom to focus on their task.
These are just little glimpses to show you all these companies, especially construction, are seriously considering implementing AI and are actually doing it.
Almost pass out when he's doing the ritual. He had his hands on me, and I think if he didn't, I might have fallen over because I felt this overwhelming just rush of something, and I did almost pass out in that moment. Literally leaving there, I remember thinking, okay, things are going to get better from now on. I don't remember having dreams after that day, actually. Negative thoughts still popped into my head after that, but when they did, I went, no, I've been cleansed. I don't need to think like that anymore.
Do you want the full episode 48 hours early and my unfiltered live breakdown with Q&A? Join us on Patreon. Link in the bio.
Okay, next up, Bill Gates, a very interesting one because not only was he named in these Epstein files, but last night he even responded because of how viral these claims have gone. Now, there are two emails from 2013 which interestingly were sent from Epstein to himself, not Bill Gates. And the reason for that might be even more interesting than the emails themselves because it appears these emails might be Epstein writing this email for someone else for them to send to Bill Gates. I mean, if you look at the first email, it's super long, it has spelling and grammar mistakes, and it's written almost like just a rant. But the second email, which was again sent from Epstein to himself, looks almost like a summarized, cleaner version, and it was written only hours later. Now, neither of the emails were signed off like you usually would do in an email, like from Jeffrey, for example. And the contents of the email don't really match up with it being Epstein. For example, the emails complained about Bill ending their friendship, firing him from a job and asking for things like 2 years severance, and even talking about an investment contract they had together worth $100 million. But the part that went super viral online is at the end where it talks about Bill Gates previously asking this person to get him antibiotics so that he could discreetly give it to Melinda, his wife at the time, because he had contracted STDs from, quote, Russian girls. So the even bigger question here is, was Epstein writing this as a draft for someone else? And if so, why would this person ask Epstein specifically to write this? Did Epstein include any information in this? And was this information ever ultimately used as blackmail against Bill Gates? A spokesperson for Gates told the BBC these claims are from a proven disgruntled liar and are absolutely and completely false. These are all the other names that I'm going to be covering in today's video, so make sure you follow so you don't miss them.
I think we're well aware at this point that anybody that's implemented in these files are going to come up with their best lie, their best excuse to, downplay the situation or spin it a whole nother direction.
There's something going around right now that's really freaking people out. So I'm going to play a quick clip of the interview, and then I want to come back and talk about something because I have a question for you. Check out this clip.
He said that when the star of Regulus, she called it a red star. When you look at it, it looks blue. But she said when Regulus is red on the horizon, in front of the gaze of the Sphinx, before daylight. So in other words, when it's sitting right on top of the horizon, before the sun comes up, that moment would mark a change in humanity's knowledge. I gave them the date of 2026 because they took that celestial event and ran it through these machines that showed that exact alignment will happen in 2026 at Easter. What's going to happen, I don't know. But I think it's possible that's the return of Christ. Yeah. Or the lady and the whole heavenly host living with us.
Okay, so I'm not an expert in the subject matter, but I'm genuinely curious to hear from those who are. What do you think about what he said? Is it accurate or is it nonsense? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear from you.
Hey, I'm definitely not getting my hopes up that Jesus is coming back that day. Now, apparently they got some kind of Project Bluebeam for that day, but that's TBD.
Starting to see a pattern here? Young girls, powerful men, and careers that depend on silence. And one more thing that's always been weird to everyone. Rihanna and Beyonce have never collaborated, not once. They're both under the same label. They're both megastars. They should have had at least one song together by now. But they won't even appear in photos together. Why? Well, if the rumors about Jay-Z and Rihanna are true, that would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Rihanna even tried to tell us something was wrong. Her album Anti came out in 2016. And the album cover shows a young girl, basically a child, wearing a crown over her eyes. The crown covers her eyes so she can't see all the horrible things happening around her. Jaguar Wright calls this a cry for help. The album is called Anti, which means opposed to, like she's opposed to everything that happened to her. But nobody was listening. We were too busy dancing to work to realize she was trying to tell us something dark. 50 Cent had all of this lined up for episode 4. Interviews with people who worked at Def Jam, documents showing the timeline, everything. But Netflix said it was too controversial, too risky, and honestly, too true. Let's talk about Aaliyah, because this was supposed to be a huge part of the Jay-Z segment, and 50 had people ready to speak on camera about what really went down.
Now with Jay-Z, doc, that might shake the industry, like completely.
This year is already on track to be the craziest one yet because 2020 is literally happening again. But this time, it's not called COVID-19, it's called the Nipah virus and it comes from India. The symptoms are pretty similar to COVID, except there is one difference, and that's the fact that this virus has a 75% mortality rate. That means if you get this virus, there is a really, really good chance you're not gonna make it. And personally, I think that every single person that I know in real life got COVID at least once, so honestly, there is no way we are gonna be making it out of this one.
Breaking news, the first bank collapse of 2026 just happened. Chicago's Metropolitan Capital Bank and Trust has literally just been shut down. Regulators closed the bank, citing unsafe conditions and weak capital. What makes this even crazier is the fact that Polymarket had a prediction that a US bank would fail before January 31st, and it was at 99% chance. So here's the real question. Are we looking at an isolated case, or is it early stress in the banking system? Guys, watch this closely. Because bank failures just don't happen randomly. They happen when something underneath starts cracking. And
hey, Chi-Town, where the money at?
Think about the Epstein leaks today. The one email
and we're here
that said that
this is not prophecy but prediction.
If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Okay, here's the list. This is an abbreviated list. I could have made it much longer. You know I can. I didn't. Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral disease pandemics. Genetically developed vaccines. DNA database tracking. DNA chips. Get this one. 1997. Gene-based pharmaceuticals. Transmitting genetic instructions for a disease process. How about this one? You ready for it? Wait for it. Artificial intelligence to determine gene patterns. 27 years ago, who had heard about AI? Apparently they had. How about this one? Robots for doing genome sequencing. And then, this one blew me away. Using recombinant DNA for making spike proteins. 1997? It gets even worse. Smart homes. They have a whole chapter on smart homes / smart cities. This one will absolutely floor you. It did me. In 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted, not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Come on. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices, this stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. And last but certainly not least, vaccination programs. I'm sorry, I got to chuckle, because if I don't, I'll cry. Vaccination programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global killer that has yet to emerge. First printing, February 1997.
A man suspected of intelligence ties ended up funding Bitcoin's core development. Was Bitcoin always a government surveillance tool disguised as freedom technology? A lot of people were convinced that Bitcoin was privacy. And we all know in 2026 that the most public place to trade is crypto. All of your transactions are on the blockchain. And anybody trying to convince you otherwise is lying to you. If you do anything in crypto, it is public. A lot of people didn't think that. Now,
if you thought any of your transactions in regards to crypto were private, then you didn't do any kind of research or homework on crypto. It's definitely public. The whole point of it is to be a public ledger so nobody can cheat with each other. But now it doesn't have your name on it. You know, there's obviously like a barcode or whatnot, depending on whatever crypto you're using. But it's interesting. Now let's take another look at what Dan Pena, another billionaire, had said about who owned it and why it would go to zero. This is interesting. And he said this, maybe a year back, 6 months to a year back. Let's check it out.
If you knew who was really behind Bitcoin, you would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night. I know. 100%. And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
One day.
And a microsecond, whoop, like that.
Epstein's money literally saved Bitcoin core development. This is the big question, and take a sip of your coffee here because it's about to get very, very, very interesting. So did Jeffrey Epstein know Satoshi Nakamoto? So I'm about to tell you a ton of files that uncover a web of connections to Bitcoin's earliest development. That's going to make your jaws drop. And did he help fund Bitcoin's survival at its most critical moment? When you see this, I think this is going to be shocking. So before you dismiss this, the documented evidence from the Epstein files paints a picture that is genuinely disturbing. Epstein's money literally saved Bitcoin core development. In 2015, the Bitcoin Foundation, the nonprofit that was paying Bitcoin's lead developers, completely collapsed. It went bankrupt. The people writing the actual code that runs Bitcoin were suddenly without paychecks. Using money funneled from Epstein, at least $850,000 officially, but a journalist reported that the true figure was actually closer to $7.5 million. Ito swooped in and hired Bitcoin's most critical developers, Gavin Anderson, Vladimir, and Corey Fields. Used gift funds to underwrite this, which allowed us to move quickly and win this round. And then Epstein replied, "Gavin is clever." That is what Epstein replied. Epstein's money was used to hire the people who write Bitcoin's code. And Epstein's response, "Gavin is clever," shows he wasn't just writing checks. He was the person Satoshi Nakamoto personally chose to hand Bitcoin over before disappearing. Gavin was Bitcoin's lead developer, the one Satoshi trusted, the one that visited the CIA in 2011. And now we know Epstein in some way or another was funding him.
So now it all makes more sense and comes full circle as to why Dan said that. And do I think Bitcoin will go to zero because of this information? I think greed in this society is definitely a lot stronger than morals. I think that's why things have been getting nothing but crazier and crazier the last 5 to 10 years.
What is Kabbalah? Kabbalah is something, after the destruction of the first temple, the Jewish people were famously enslaved and taken captive by the Babylonians. This is where the book of Daniel is written. It's a form of magic. The Jewish people, they kept the Kabbalah. It eventually becomes digital life, through ones and zeros.
But it's a Gnostic religion, which is to say it's hidden from non-initiates.
Yeah, I mean, there's a mainstream version of it. It's a precursor to digital life. So what Land and a lot of these people believe is that the actual salvation that the Jewish people provided was keeping Kabbalah, which eventually becomes digital life, which eventually becomes AI, which eventually becomes the creatures from the Book of Revelation, which essentially later go on to destroy humanity and fulfill the Book of Revelation. But that is a good thing. A lot of them believe.
Have you heard of the mystical tradition called Kabbalah? Comment below.
A lot of them believe.
Have you heard of the mystical tradition called Kabbalah? Comment below.
It's the time of the year to remind you not to toss boiling water over your head. I mean, this trick does work because when water is near boiling and the air is extremely cold, the water breaks into tiny droplets as you throw it. Those droplets lose heat almost instantly, turning into vapor and ice crystals. And that's the powdery cloud you see. But here's where people mess it up. If the water isn't hot enough, if it's too windy, or if you don't throw it hard enough, the water doesn't vaporize. It just comes back down as hot water.
Note to self, don't even worry about throwing hot water in the air when it's cold. Don't even worry about it. I saw the example. I seen the example.
These tiny creatures might be the most useful animals on Earth, and you've probably eaten them before. Because the second they're brought to markets, they're weighed equally and sealed in individual containers, as farmers race to buy millions of them since their whole farm depends on it. Because they're taken straight to flooded rice fields, where thousands are released into the water, starting one of the smartest farming systems in the world. As while they grow up, they spend each day eating harmful pests and weeds, while digging through the mud to aerate the soil, giving the rice more oxygen without using any chemicals. But after months of protecting every grain of rice, they're collected all over again and sold worldwide, finally becoming the same crabs you've eaten.
When a soul chooses to incarnate, it scans the genetic lineage of potential parents to see how much of the original 12-stranded DNA template, the blueprint for eternal life embodiment, is still active. This doesn't mean the parents must be fully activated, but that their DNA holds enough latent crystalline codes to support the child's mission and allow their higher gifts to awaken over time. The soul chooses a vessel and lineage that will either support its evolution or offer a healing opportunity to help restore damaged parts of the family line, emotional and spiritual maturity. It's not just how much you've activated, but your latent crystalline code capacity. There's a specific choosing that they do based upon the capacity of the DNA of the mother and the father.
Everything that happens in your life is a reflection of what's happening inside you. The people you meet, the opportunities you get, even the problems you face.
People say the all-seeing eye of Providence is proof of hidden rulers, secret societies, and shadow control. Yeah, groups like the Freemasons and others have used it, But here's the part most people miss. They didn't invent the symbol, they inherited it. The all-seeing eye has existed for centuries across religion, philosophy, and psychology as a symbol of awareness and higher perception. The triangle is often used to represent a trinity, not just religious, but structural. Three forces that create stability. Spiritually, it's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Humanly, it's the mind, body, and spirit. And the eye, that's the observer. In psychological terms, it represents meta-awareness, the part of your mind that can watch your thoughts, question your impulses, and see your own behavior from above, your inner witness. So when conspiracy theories say someone is always watching, the deeper interpretation is this: you are. Your higher awareness is always watching your lower habits. And when your mind, body, and inner awareness align, you gain control over yourself instead of being controlled by impulse. The symbol isn't just about power over the world. It's about power over perception. It's about connecting to your higher self.
This giant room is 1,000 meters under a mountain in Japan. It's a massive tank made of stainless steel, filled with 50,000 tons of ultra-pure water. The walls are covered with nearly 13,000 light detectors, so sensitive that they could detect a flashlight on the surface of the moon. And yet, they sit in absolute total darkness. The dense rock of the mountain and the earth shield this tank from everything. Well, almost everything. About 30 times a day, something sets off these detectors. Super tiny cosmic travelers from the sun, from supernova explosions, and from right here on Earth. Every day, trillions of these tiny particles zoom through us, but they're so small that we can't see or feel them. But this observatory can. It was completed in 1996 and led to 2 separate Nobel Prize-winning discoveries about these ghost particles. And now they're about to build a bigger one. To find out more, follow along.
Dramatic video of a skydiver whose parachute got snagged on the tail of a plane.
Oh, gosh.
It happened in Tully, Australia. This was back in September, but video of this terrifying incident was just released. 17 people were on board, and they were preparing to skydive, and that first person then climbed out of the aircraft. The handle of his reserve parachute snagged on a wing flap, damaging the plane's horizontal stabilizer. The man was able to cut himself free with a knife before going into a free fall. He then released his main parachute and landed safely. He suffered only minor injuries.
Whew.
Wow.
There we go. There we go. Look, one of the main reasons I'm good on the whole parachute thing, that's just too much adventure for me.
So the classic shape of DNA that we've all been taught in schools and we've seen in textbooks? It turns out it's actually wrong. The classic shape of DNA is that it's depicted as a ladder that twists along itself, but in reality that is not the case. It's actually like this. It is a ladder, but it doesn't twist along itself, but rather wraps around a central axis, forming the spiral. Now, this is a small but very important difference. So learning this in my 30s makes me wonder, what else has the world lied to me about?
Most people only associate demons with Christian culture, but nothing could be further from the truth. Take the Oni, for example, a well-known creature from Japanese folklore. The Oni are typically depicted as fierce giants with horns, wild hair, fangs, and carrying a spiked club. They're associated with thunder and lightning and have a propensity for murder. Now, technically, the Oni can be either male or female, but historically they've been depicted as male. The Oni are believed to live in caves and are able to change their appearance to get their victims to trust them.
First of all, how am I going to trust you if you live in a cave? You definitely got to make it make sense, man.
Grocery prices are up 50% since 2019. Salaries are flat. I don't know how people with families are surviving this economy.
Hey, I thought it was just me. I was in the grocery store the other day and was trying to figure out why a box of cornflakes was like $6, $7.
They may have discovered a 5th force of nature, which would literally rewrite physics as we know it, and I think this is an awesome thing. So as of right now, we have 4 forces of nature. We have gravity, we have electromagnetism, which is electricity and magnetism. They're kind of the same thing. Then we have some subatomic forces that are a little bit weird to explain, like the strong force and weak force. However, scientists at the Fermi Lab have identified an unknown force acting against muons, which are subatomic particles. So I'm not going to get into the subatomic physics of that too much. It's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. However, the force acting on it is a new force that they haven't observed yet. It doesn't fit into the current model very well, and they found this first in 2021, and then they did a test quite recently that confirmed that force. Here's an example of it. And so what they've decided to do is name this G-2, which I don't know, I'm sure there's a technical reason for that, but the new force is called G-2. And they've been slinging muons around trying to measure additional forces working on them, which is, it's insanely difficult that we can even separate out subatomic.
Why is nobody talking about what the sphere looked like on the outside? On the inside, quite demonic. It's like you're trapped in hell. Every single one of these chains is built by a singular demon, which means everybody in this crowd is surrounded by millions of demons. I wonder how many legions are here. They are putting the truth right in front of your eyes and people aren't even paying attention. This is what people were walking into. This looks like the firmament shattering. Where's Hillary Clinton when you need her?
Together we put a lot of cracks in the highest, hardest glass ceiling.
I could only imagine what we'd be letting in if she was speaking literally. Anyways, what happens next I find quite interesting. The firmament breaks, it shatters, the doors of hell open, and what enters in? The fallen angels. We see a lot of the symbolism happening with hip-hop, R&B, rap, metal, rock, but not much country, but maybe that's what we get for integrating them into country, if you get what I'm saying. This concert at the Sphere had tons of demonic symbolism in it, and in fact there were times where I literally felt like I was in an episode of Stranger Things. This part specifically being the main one. If you can find this video of the Sphere online, you guys go watch it and come back to my comment section and you tell me what you think that it's symbolizing. Stay tuned for part 2.
If you like being alone, you're an introvert. If you like being with other people, you're an extrovert. If sometimes you like being alone and sometimes you like being with other people, you're an ambivert. So, which one are you?
Sometimes I'm an introvert. Sometimes I'm an extrovert. Sometimes I'm an ambivert. It just depends, really, just on the day, how I'm feeling, I guess.
So people in Texas were just testing what was in the new snow that was on the ground. Aluminum, barium, strontium, lead, mercury, sulfur compounds, nitrogens, and pH. But guys, it gets so much worse, because why? Apparently, this woman kept posting this on the Instagram, and it kept getting taken down. These aren't trace elements. These are toxic chemical compounds known to harm the brain, nervous system, and environment. You're not crazy for asking questions. You're crazy if you stay silent. So people are basically questioning if this was in the snow on purpose. A lot of people are saying there's a lot of pollutants in snow, probably from factories and just cars and a bunch of things like that. Some people are saying like this is done on purpose, which that's a whole different story. People are simply just saying about that snow getting millions of views. But guys, what do y'all think about this? I just think it's crazy that it's literally an exact list of the most toxic things like mercury, lead. So don't eat snow anymore.
Hey, chemtrails. Chemtrails. That's exactly what it has to be. If you're in Texas, if you're in Nashville, any of those places which actually happen in that, tap in and let me know what you think it is.
Nature has given us a hint. When you fall asleep at night, the activity of your own mind appears as a physical world from the perspective of a separate subject of experience in that world. Now just go up one level and consider that what appears to us as a physical world is the activity of a universal mind or consciousness, whose nature is consciousness, not matter. But it only appears as physical matter when perceived through the sense perceptions of a separate subject of experience within that world.
Just a reminder that the full phrase is that a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
So sadly, all the flags that we mounted on the moon are now white because of the sun's radiation. Here's what they originally looked like. But my question is, how did someone get this photo? I didn't think anyone's been back to the moon since the 1969s.
Juice WRLD recorded over 3,000 songs in just 4 years. 3,000. Most artists drop maybe 200 in their entire career. He was creating faster than his label could release. Since 2019, over 700 tracks leaked online. Fans heard Lost My Mind and Chasing the Dragon before his team even knew they existed. His vault could fuel albums for decades. That's not just talent, that's obsession with immortality through music.
Parliament, which has got a pyramid. Black, again, a pyramid. Kingston, again, a pyramid. Next to it, another Kingston with a 3D pyramid coming out at you. The pyramid cigarettes. You've got Corso, the top right there, pyramid. Misty is the word for mystics, which ran the pyramids, okay? Cool is the ancient derivation for ghoul, where you get the word ghoul, ghost and ghoul. Yeah, that's again, the ghouls, which are the demons that worked at the pyramids. Petra, a place where there's pyramids stuck right next to it. Salem is Jerusalem, which is, again, the people that are sacrificing people at the pyramid stuff. Zigzag is actually what the little rolly papers they would put in there. And then skull, you put the tobacco, is called skull. Notice all the skulls there to the left, like all the pyramid stuff. And why is it called zigzag? Because that's where we get the word zigzag, is from the word ziggurat. It's zigzag. It's the pyramid steps, bro. That's what zigzag is. That's zigzag, the steps of the pyramids. When you look at all the pyramid stuff, that's where we get the word. And then scroll down the bottom, look at more. And then you see the camel. It's not about the camel. It's about the pyramids in the background, bro. Pyramid, pyramid, pyramid. And then Marlboro is not a chevron. It's an inverted pyramid. Okay? And then Amaru Khan is the spirit of Amaru that they sacrifice. Notice how they're always, look, he's holding up the blood to the sun. You see that? That's Loki strikes. Or Lucky strikes. Sorry. Loki is their god. Loki of chaos and mischief. Okay? That's Loki. That's why there's a sun circle. That's why it says Amaru Khan spirit. The spirit of Amaru. Amaru is the dragon god. So if you Googled Amaru spirit, that's what it is. Scroll up, look at more. And then look, you even take the top of the cigarette packs off on those, just like the top of the dollar bill is removed when you open up the pack of cigarettes, bro. It's on all of them. New port. It's got a dragon on the Pall Mall. There's a new port because you're the new portal, because you create that port when you smoke that cigarette, when you burn the offering. That's why, look, see that little image next to the pyramid, the dollar bill pyramid? That's what's actually happening. And see, now you see why the word Marlboro has the A emphasized on the old logo. Why do you think they emphasize the A? Because it's a pyramid. It's always about the pyramid. You are a human ritual sacrifice.
CERN is an intergovernmental organization operating out of Switzerland, financed largely by Illuminati bankers under the guise of high-end physics research. And so it forces protons to collide together at very high rates close to the speed of light, causing artificial black holes or rips in time, which creates artificial timelines and allows portals of entry for negative dark entities, creating artificial AI timelines, as what happened in Atlantis when it fell. Good news is we have a choice. It's causing a bifurcation of timelines, and so we can choose love, new Earth systems, and oscillate into new Earth systems. New Earth, let's go.
That's one theme that seems to be constant on this earth, man, good and evil. And you have free will to choose which side you want to be on.
Here's a look at just how cold it is in New York City. You are looking at images of the Hudson River almost completely frozen over. And now, states from Texas to Florida to New York are on alert for record-breaking low temperatures and even more possible snow.
Meanwhile, Kanye West's old clips have resurfaced, where he accused Jay-Z of being connected to darker industry figures.
People like Jay-Z and fucking Pusha T, they made their living killing our people, so how the fuck they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best fit for somebody else? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, they'd go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars. Man. Liars are now the face of our culture.
And the whole wicked system of Rock Nation, including you, Jay-Z.
Yes. Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and bartered the souls of young men, and you're still doing it.
Who we seen Jay close to? Harvey Weinstein, right? Him and Harvey Weinstein got, Harvey Weinstein has Jay-Z's rights for television and movies. You knew that?
No, I was
Jay-Z sold his life rights to Harvey Weinstein.
A little more time has passed, and now we're able to see where Kanye lies in all this. He wasn't so far in any of those Epstein files, so now we just see exactly what he was talking about as far as everybody else.
After Jay-Z was found in the Epstein files, this is every person and organization that has cut ties with him, as in like them unfollowing him on Instagram. You have some big names, I'm not gonna lie. Rihanna no longer follows Jay-Z on Instagram after the files released. Kim Kardashian, Miss Tina Knowles, don't know who that is with all due respect. Kelly Rowland, don't know who that is with all due respect as well. Apple Music, the company themselves, Apple Music, have unfollowed Jay-Z. The NFL have follow me.
Morbid Facts, Part 889. This is the face of 87-year-old World War II veteran and daylily horticulturist Leo Sharp, who was pulled over in Michigan in 2011 after appearing confused and disoriented. A search of his vehicle uncovered more than 400 pounds of cocaine, revealing that he'd secretly spent years working as a high-level courier for Mexico's Sinaloa cartel. Because he looked so harmless and was rarely questioned, Sharp transported massive quantities of cocaine across the U.S. before being caught. He later pleaded guilty to drug trafficking charges and was sentenced to prison in his late 80s, becoming one of the oldest cartel mules ever prosecuted. In 1951, the French town of Pont-Saint-Esprit was hit by a sudden outbreak of severe illness after residents ate bread from a local bakery. Around 250 people experienced intense hallucinations, convulsions, and severe paranoia, with some reporting visions of snakes crawling out of their bodies or being consumed by flames. Several victims jumped from windows or ran screaming through the streets, while others were restrained or sedated as hospitals quickly filled beyond capacity. At least 5 people died and dozens were committed to psychiatric institutions. Investigators later concluded the outbreak was most likely caused by ergot poisoning, a toxic fungus that can contaminate rye and produce effects similar to LSD, which many historians have also theorized may have contributed to the Salem witch trials.
What happens when a line is drawn in front of this chicken? This is a strange and mysterious phenomenon observed in chickens. When a line is drawn on the ground starting from the beak and extending straight in front of the chicken enters a state of magnetic hypnosis and becomes unable to move. If the chicken is hypnotized in this way, it will continue to stare at the line and remain still for a duration of up to 30 minutes. There is no precise explanation for this phenomenon. This hypnosis is not harmful to the chicken, and usually the chicken snaps out of the magnetic hypnosis when the line is erased in front of it.
Hey, how random is that?
Imagine driving on a cliffside that's nearly vertical, with absolutely no guardrails in sight. This is the Jiduo Hanging Road in China, one of the most extreme roads in the world. The elevation change is mind-blowing, reaching over 3,200 feet with a cliff slope of up to 75 degrees. It feels like you're driving along the edge of a skyscraper hundreds of stories high. The road is incredibly narrow, only about 10 feet wide in some spot, and it's packed with sharp hairpins that wind up the mountain like a silk ribbon. One wrong move and it's game over. But this road was built for one specific purpose: to finally connect a remote village with the outside world. It is extreme and dangerous, but it stands as a symbol of human resilience against nature. If you had to drive this, would you be brave enough, or is it a hard pass? Let me know in the comments.
We would just have to be FaceTime buddies, because that looks like life or death to me, and I'm trying to live.
Winnie the Pooh and Piglet are both in the Epstein files, bro. My honest reaction?
Cracks are already appearing in 3D printed buildings. I filmed this site brand new, and 3 years later, there's some problems. A lot of people were saying the cheaper price of 3D printed houses makes them worth it, but that's not usually how it works. Developers sell based on market value, not cost. If they save 50 grand by printing a house instead of laying bricks, you're usually still going to pay the same price. They get the profit, and you get to join a really expensive beta testing program. But don't get me wrong, I'd love to live in a 3D printed house. It's just experimental technology with a heap of variables still being refined. Things like thermal cycling, uneven curing, and material composition, which is why—
Oh, they're gonna figure it out, and at some point 3D printed houses will be the standard. Well, you guys, that's another one in the books, man. Shout out to all the mods. Shout out to all the members. Big shout out to all the iTrack fam, man. Appreciate you guys for always stopping by and watching one with me. Make sure to smash the like button, hit the hype button, and if you're not a part of the iTrack fam, smash that subscribe button. I'll catch you on the next one.